Hello everyone, Norm Jones, Brigham Young University, and in this exercise we are going to learn about yet another control. In this case we're going to learn about something called a combo box. So let's just jump right in, and this is kind of a different version of the breaking calculation spreadsheet that we experimented with in one of our earlier videos and exercises. And in that earlier version we had a set of option controls where the user would select a reaction time, a quick, slow, average, and that would then echo the associated reaction time in seconds or fraction of a second to this cell. And in this case, instead of having three option controls to select whether you're slow, average, or quick, we are going to use a combo box to present a list of options from this list shown on sheet 2. And now we're going to expand our reaction times from 3 choices to 5 choices. And we have a label for each of these options, and then there's an associated time. So it's significant that we have 2 columns here, and I'll explain why a little bit later in this video. So what we're going to do is we are going to create a combo box that presents those options from the second sheet to the user in a simple and intuitive way. So we're going to go into the Developer tab, and we're going to go down. Now you got to be careful. There's 2 of these controls that look very similar. This is the combo box right here, the second one in the top row of the ActiveX controls section. And over here to the right there's a list box. We're going to look at list box a little bit later in our series, but right now we're going to use the combo box option. So we'll click on that, and I've got a little placeholder here formatted. That rectangle there has no purpose other than just to make the spreadsheet look pretty. Don't really need to have that, but so here we go. I've created a combo box, and I'm going to bring up the properties window, and we're going to call this CBOR time for reaction time. And now we're going to do a couple of things. Down here for a combo box you have a property called the list fill range, and this is basically the address to a set of cells containing the information that should be used to fill the contents of the combo box. And for this we're going to refer to this section right here on sheet number 2, A5 to B9. And so we're going to go back here and we're going to say the list fill range is, and since this is on another sheet we need to reference the sheet name, so we're going to say sheet 2 exclamation A5 colon B9. So when you fill in the list fill range property you do it exactly the same way you do if you were referencing a range in an Excel formula. If it's on the same sheet, you just do the cell or range of cells directly. If it's on a different sheet, you have to do the sheet name and then with an exclamation and then the range of cells. And if your sheet name has a space in it, you need to enclose the sheet name in single quotes before you do the exclamation point. And so I'm just going to hit enter here. And let's exit design mode for a second and see what this looks like. So now, as you can see, we have a nice simple way to select the whatever option we want here. Now this is called a combo box because in addition to selecting an option you can just type in a value. And so assuming that you want to present to the users either a set of options or allow them to just enter something directly. Now in my experience most of the time when you do a combo box, you want them to only select a specific set of, or one option from a list of options. You don't want them to be able to enter hello world or something like that. That just wouldn't make sense in the context. So if we go into design mode, there is a there's a property called match required, and by default that's false. But if we make that equal to true, now when we exit design mode and we go to type something, it won't let us go on until we've actually entered something from the list. Again, if I backspace here, actually it's not even going to let me backspace at this point. And when I go to type and hit enter, it doesn't accept it. It just stays in edit mode, and so I have to select one of the options. So that's what we want here. Now, as you may recall, now what we want to have happen is we want this combo box to be linked to cell B9, so that whatever option is selected here is echoed to B9. Now we got to be careful how we do that. For example, if I go up here and go into design mode, and if I go down here and for my linked cell, if I put B9, now if I exit design mode and I make a selection, what happens is the actual value of that combo box, which is the text that's being displayed, is echoed to cell B9. Now the reason it's doing that is when I linked this combo box to this range, I did it to both columns here, but what's displayed in the cell is whatever's in the leftmost column. But that's not what I want. What we really want to have happen is when the user makes a selection, we want the corresponding value from column B, the second column, to be actually echoed to the linked cell. And there's a simple way to do that. If you go up here, there's a property called bound column, and the default is 1, but if I change that to 2, now when I make a selection, what it does, it doesn't take the actual value, sluggish or slow or whatever this text string is. What it does, it goes to the linked set of cells, the linked range, and it finds the corresponding value from the second column. That's why we call it the bound column, and that becomes the actual underlying value, which is then linked to this cell B9. And you'll notice that there's a set of formulas down here that do this calculation. There's actually no Visual Basic code in this particular exercise. We're doing it all entirely using these controls and linking them to cells. But now I have a really nice, convenient way to provide a set of options for the user to pick from, and that is echoed to the other, or excuse me, to this cell. Now, by the way, you can do something like a combo box using data validation. For example, I could go here and select a cell and say data, where's my validation cell? Let's see. I gotta expand this to consolidate. Data validation, there we go. Sometimes it's hard to recognize when you have the menu compressed like that. So I could go in here and I could say I want to link this cell to a list, and I want that list to be right here, and click OK, and now I can have the same kind of selection options. So data validation gives you something that's very much like a combo box. It's just embedded inside a cell. You don't have to use any ActiveX controls. You can do this on a Mac or Windows PC. But the difference is, with data validation, the set of options that you link to that cell have to be on the same sheet. It can't be on another sheet, so that's one difference. Furthermore, you can't do the little trick that we did with the combo box where you link it to not one column but two columns and have the actual value echoed being the second column. In fact, all it does is it fills the cell in question using the one column list you link it to. So while there are some similarities between data validation using a list and a combo box, a combo box has some additional capabilities that can be really useful. Furthermore, you can, if you had some code you wanted to execute, you could simply double click on that combo box and you would then be able to write some code in response to a change event. It's not a click event, it's a change event. So the user has to actually click on it and then make a selection, and that triggers a change event, and you can then write code in response to that. So that's how you use a combo box. We're not going to write any code in this case, but this can be a really useful control with or without linking it to Visual Basic.